There exists a teaching Florence Scovel Shinn deliberately left out of her published works, a decree so potent that even her most devoted students spoke of it only in hushed tones, believing it too powerful for general release. You are on the verge of encountering it, and this arrival is not accidental. Whatever resonates within your heart does not occur by mere coincidence. It follows a purposeful vibration. Tradition holds that anyone who proclaims this decree with immovable faith can dissolve in under a single day all currents of scarcity, uncertainty, and deprivation. Its influence reaches beyond the flow of money to reconfigure the very architecture of the surrounding reality. Yet before unveiling it, you must grasp the reasons it was veiled from view. To receive that understanding, stay with me attentively through to the conclusion. What follows is not merely information, it is a threshold. Pause to breathe. Sense how some inner part of you, though it may not yet fully comprehend, starts recalling that your word functions as a governing law. As Florence often taught, the word spoken with faith is a pact with the invisible. Every affirmation, every negation you express are energetic agreements signed with the universe. Herein lies the danger speech, devoid of awareness, still creates but without direction. Yet the universe answers just the same. This is why the decree was carefully protected, since not all are ready to carry the weight of their inherent power. You, however, are prepared. Your presence here is not accidental. It is a summons to reclaim the authority your soul once set aside and is now ready to wield again. Envision a golden doorway before you, one that cannot be forced open, but responds only to a precise word. That key word is contained within this message and will be disclosed only at the conclusion. Your task is simply to stay present and alert until it is spoken. If this frequency feels aligned, consider joining our member circle where I offer concealed decrees, guided meditations, and rare teachings of Florence Scovel Shinn, unavailable in any other venue. Your contribution sustains this work, and in gratitude, the current returns your offering in multiplied form. Shall we proceed to appreciate the force of this concealed decree? You must first learn the governing law behind every utterance you release. Before moving forward, subscribe and lend your support, not as habit or for algorithms, but from resonance. Each faith-born action unlocks an unseen doorway. This moment may be precisely such a door for you. Florence uncovered this principle while her life was unraveling. Her marriage had ended, her paintings did not sell, and creditors pursued her like persistent shades. One night, utterly spent, she recorded in her journal, "If my word caused my downfall, my word can also bring about my resurrection." That single line redirected her fate and eventually reshaped the lives of thousands who learned from her example. By aligning her words with a sacred intention, Florence witnessed reality, answering her voice invoices cleared, without obvious cause, unanticipated openings and pathways revealed where none were visible. When people pressed her for an explanation, she replied plainly, "It's not magic, it's the law." Yet the law carried a pattern, a hidden frequency she shared only in intimate groups. She referred to it as the law of immediate correspondence. In her framework, the universe answers not to the request itself, but to the identity you embody at the instant of asking. Petition from scarcity, and scarcity replies. Declare from sufficiency, and sufficiency moves toward you. The principle is starkly simple, yet exact and risky for anyone anchored in fear. This explains why her culminating decree remained unpublished. It does not supplicate abundance. It summons and directs it, and thus must be voiced only by one who already recognizes themselves as inherently abundant. Today's aim is to help you inhabit that state of being, because the concealed decree operates not through rote repetition, but through embodiment. In the following chapter, you will see how Florence discovered the word that unlocks the gates of divine provision, and how you can invoke it from calm rather than urgency. First, however, repeat inwardly with me. What is mine by divine right recognizes me, finds me, and obeys me. Observe how this sentence subtly alters your inner field. If full understanding has not yet arrived, release concern. The second chapter clarifies the law that brings every word to completion. Here is where the real narrative starts. Many teach that the universe lacks independent intention. It neither selects nor prefers it answers. Florence Scovel Shinn named this reflexive answering the law of the fulfilled word. You set it into motion with each utterance and every declaration, even the casual remarks you make unconsciously, because the cosmos reads your statements as finalized directives. It does not parse wishes apart from worries, nor detect humor or excuses. It simply locks onto the wavelength of the feeling that carries your words and complies accordingly. Florence came to grasp the principle more deeply when a student, a young actress out of work, arrived weeping. I have spoken all the decrees, Florence. I have repeated every phrase, every affirmation, and nothing happens. With her characteristic calm, the composure of someone who has seen speech construct or dismantle realities, Florence regarded her kindly and replied, "You are not decreeing alone, you are decreeing from doubt. And doubt, my dear, is also a prayer, only in reverse." Silence fell between them. The actress stared, still puzzled. Leaning in with gentleness, Florence asked, "How many times a day do you say, 'I hope it works'?" She continued, "Every 'I hope' is an 'I don't believe', and every 'I don't believe' is an agreement that the universe seals at once." Florence then invited a precise shift in language. Rather than saying, "I hope they call me for the role," the student would affirm, "My role is already chosen. The opportunity recognizes me and comes to me now." Within 3 days, the phone rang. The director admitted that quite suddenly, an inner prompting had brought her name strongly to mind. Hearing the account, Florence smiled. What unfolded was not sorcery, but principle, the steadfast law that echoes back your declaration. You too stand within this same operation. Each phrase you voice, and even the unspoken sentences you rehearse inwardly, molds the material of what is to come. I say this not to frighten you, but to restore awareness of your capacity. The universe does not ignore you, it reflects you. Hence, Florence's counsel. Speak only of what you long to see bloom. If you declare, "I am tired of struggling," the law offers you more struggle. But if you affirm, "Everything is aligning in my favor," the law reorganizes reality to make it so. Consider this carefully. Florence taught that each statement carries a double register, a spoken human tone, and a deeper soul resonance. The mouth articulates, but the soul issues the directive. When those two currents align, the universe has only one option to comply. Thus, hollow affirmations will not suffice. It is ineffective to say, "I am rich," if fear shakes the heart. The task is to feel the truth as present even before it appears. That embodied certainty activates the law. For the same reason, the forbidden decree must never be uttered carelessly. When voiced with authentic faith, It fractures the old pattern, and the former reality cannot fully reassemble itself. Florence named that turning point the luminous fracture, the precise moment your declaration shatters the previous template, and what once looked unreachable starts gliding toward you without fanfare. Yet a seldom discussed element follows the proving. Before the new form appears, the law probes the strength of your statement. A small inconsistency, a remnant of your former pattern will surface to verify whether the fresh decree outweighs the entrenched routine. If you sustain trust during that interval, substance itself softens and provision arrives. The principle is exact, uncomplicated, almost holy. Picture each thought as a seed. Certain seeds germinate swiftly, others require time, yet all are governed by one and the same law. No thought is truly wasted. Some simply have not reached visibility. Your responsibility is not to rush the blossom, but to guard the right planting. Hence, Florence's assertion: every good word you sow germinates in its perfect time. The simple act of writing it generates a vibration that endures. Now consider this: there exists a method to quicken the working of the law, an approach by which the universe answers within hours, rather than after weeks or months. Florence arrived at it through an ordeal that nearly shattered her belief. That deepest night of her life simultaneously revealed the doorway to the forbidden decree. Before we step into that account, hold fast to this principle. Power is not sourced in external fortune or shifting circumstances, but in the words you elect to speak and in those you resolve never to utter again. Ready yourself. The following chapter recounts the evening when Florence stood on the edge of losing her faith, and how that very darkness opened the path to the decree that would change all things. There are evenings when the inner voice will not form a prayer, not from unbelief, but from exhaustion after every effort has been made. Florence understood that particular silence intimately. It is the kind of quiet that offers no reply, that almost mocks your decrees, your petitions, your trust. On a frigid New York winter night, the narrow rooms of her humble flat felt cavernous, as if the reverberation of her thoughts had been sealed inside with no exit. A letter sat on the table, another notice threatening eviction. Income had stalled, her art courses drew no students, and sales of her cherished book, The Game of Life, had dwindled nearly to nothing. Florence took her place at the window, and for the first time in years discovered she had no language left. Consider the irony, a teacher of verbal power unable to speak. She raised her eyes to the night and just for a moment wondered, what if I was wrong? The thought was brief, yet it cracked something within. When a guide questions her own principle, the universe seems to pause and listen. That night, its answer was pure stillness. She wept, yet not with an ordinary sobbing. It was a cleansing grief that widened inner space, clearing the mind for a new birth. When the tears were spent and her heart was hollowed out, a voice arose from within the quiet. The guidance did not descend from the outside world. It rose from within, as if a concealed part of her had been waiting with patience for exactly this threshold. The voice addressed her with gentleness, almost like a mother. You taught that the word is law, but you forgot that silence is also law. She stayed perfectly still as the sentence moved through her like a shaft of light. Silence is also law. In that instant, she perceived the truth. She had not been forsaken by the universe. It had simply conformed to her last inward decree. The unspoken conclusion I don't know what else to do. The cosmos, consistent with its principle, mirrored that statement. It did nothing. That evening became an act of relinquishment, profoundly human and quietly holy, for within that still vacant space, the foundations of the forbidden decree emerged not as a mental draft, but as a soul-born articulation. Florence opened her notebook and with a calm that felt larger than her personality wrote, "I do not have to do anything by myself. Divine intelligence acts through me, and everything that belongs to me by divine right comes to me without effort." These lines signaled the decree's inception. They were not rallying cries for struggle. They were declarations of total yielding. Immediately, a subtle turning began. At daybreak, the phone rang. A man, someone who had read one of her earlier spiritual leaflets, invited her to deliver a talk at a metaphysical church. The honorarium was small, yet she accepted with sincere thankfulness. In that sanctuary, she first voiced the sentence that would be remembered as the decree capable of dissolving scarcity. Listeners were moved to tears. Some reported a gentle warmth in the heart, while others remarked that the entire hall seemed to shine from the inside out. Florence recognized that the force at work was not personal. It was the universe itself which had required stillness to pour through. From that night forward, her life entered a new phase. Difficulties did not evaporate instantly, yet the tone of scarcity loosened and dissolved, for fear, when met with awareness, loses authority. She came to see that faith is not an absence of doubt. Faith is the steady articulation of truth, even while the outer world remains quiet. You have likely endured similar nights moments when your affirmations appear powerless, when your decrees evaporate into empty space, when spiritual practice feels like a call with no return. Know this: the quiet is not retribution. It marks the exact threshold where the former frequency is shutting down and a new one is stirring. What presents as emptiness is actually recalibration. The universe is tuning itself to echo your forthcoming statement. Thus, when everything appears to pause, it indicates you are on the verge of giving a directive that will alter your experience. Florence recorded in her diary, "The final test of the spiritual player is to keep believing when the board seems empty." If you are standing at that juncture, this message serves as a reminder that the universe accompanies you even in quiet. The chapter that follows explains how the decree was finalized and why it was deemed too potent for public circulation. There, you will learn the hidden architecture of the statement and the method for applying it so that your world aligns without resistance. If these events strike a chord, consider joining the channel as a member, where I offer practices and advanced decrees for those prepared to manifest without hesitation. Your participation nourishes this work, and in reciprocity, it returns multiplied. Ready yourself for the most illuminating section, because in Chapter 4, the secret code of the forbidden decree, you will encounter for the first time the exact wording Florence used to engage the law of divine return. Once you receive it, the path changes permanently. Not every decree is charged. Some disperse like leaves in the wind, while others resonate across unseen dimensions. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this distinction, which is why when she transmitted her forbidden decree, she spoke softly, as if confiding a secret from soul to soul. She never set it down in print. She conveyed it only as a whisper. She taught that the decree carried a pattern of vibration potent enough to influence the trajectory of matter itself. Envision language as tonal. Each word bears a frequency like a note. Some tones soothe the body, others open energetic thresholds. The forbidden decree fused these powers into one. It functioned as a precise melody, commanding the universe to recall who you really are. When that remembrance arises, all that is yours, by divine right, begins to make its way back. Yet there was a prerequisite. It could not be voiced by anyone who still identified as a victim. The decree recognizes not fear, but sovereignty. Florence clarified to a student, "The universe does not respond to your plea, but to your certainty. And certainty, my child, is not shouted, it is embodied. For this reason, the decree's code does not commence with phrasing, but with a choice to lay down the narrative of fear and re-inhabit your divine identity. Listen now with your inner ear, for what follows is not a catchphrase, but a consecrated instruction." Florence conveyed it in 3 movements, each aligned with a distinct state of consciousness, the 3 keys of return. The first key is the unlocking phrase, "I am the perfect channel of divine wealth." It does not say I want to be or I need to be. It proclaims I am because the I am functions as the universe's master key. To speak I am is not to state an opinion, it is to activate a gateway. The phrase carries the tone of Genesis, the frequency by which creation begins. The second key articulates authority. Nothing and no one can block the arrival of the good that is yours. In this register, you do not plead, you issue command. Florence maintained that once the soul accepts itself as divine authority, opposition unravels. The third key, most carefully guarded, is the return phrase, "Everything that is mine by divine right returns to me, multiplied under grace in perfect time and form." This statement was the hidden formula to be voiced only once per day inwardly and with unwavering composure, because in pronouncing it, the universe rearranges trajectories to fulfill it. Many testified that after using it, they received unforeseen phone calls, overdue funds, or a deep tranquility as though the unseen had been tidied. Still, Florence emphasized a deeper directive: never chant the line as though it were a charm. Embody it. Move through your day as though the decree has already manifested in full. The decree's potency does not come from constant recitation. It comes from inhabiting it, allowing your identity to merge with its meaning. You do not draw in what you merely desire. You magnetize what you already acknowledge as integral to your being. That is the essence of the code alignment of vibration. Inscribed words carry equal force to spoken declarations. Florence taught that as you work with the decree, 3 indicators reliably appear initially: a sensation of ease as though weight is lifting. Next, a stream of chance alignments, timely meetings, fortuitous reconnections, accurate openings. And lastly, a quiet, unwavering assurance within. When that calm confidence arises, the felt sense that the universe has already moved on your behalf, it marks the moment to cease further statements. Do not keep decreeing. Instead, shift to gratitude, because to insist is like requesting the identical gift twice. Authentic faith articulates a single clear word and then rests in its realization. As Florence wrote, "When you know the door is open, you don't knock, you enter." This is your instruction step directly into the field of abundance, rather than pleading at its threshold. The forbidden decree is not a mechanism for printing money. It orchestrates alignment with the wellspring from which provision flows. Once that resonance is present, abundance stops being a distant objective and instead emerges as the effortless consequence of coherence. Florence taught that when the soul grasps this pattern, existence transforms into a continuous conversation with the divine, devoid of strain, free of dread, guided by inner accuracy. That accuracy hums in every cell. Abundance is not external to you. It is your native state waiting to be recollected rather than hunted. The following chapter shows how to integrate the decree into a simple daily rite and how to steward the next 24 hours so results unfold organically. Here, comprehension turns into application because knowing the code is insufficient, you must enact it. The upcoming section, the 24 hours of divine response, comes with a caution. Once you live this practice, your experience will shift irreversibly. The moment you voice the forbidden decree, subtle forces begin their work. Your 5 senses may not register it, yet you can sense a lift of fresh tranquility, a feeling as though the atmosphere itself has grown attentive. Florence named this phenomenon the divine echo. This echo is a frequency that travels through unseen layers, arranging conditions to honor your sentence. With it, the 24 hours of divine response formally commence. The period is not mystical time so much as disciplined awareness, one full day devoted to witnessing the universe translate your decree into markers, nudges, and meaningful convergences. Across this day unfold 3 distinct stages. The first is fear's unraveling. Soon after you decree, a habitual impulse will tug you back to earlier patterns. A familiar inner murmur will say, "Nothing has changed. Consider this normal." Fear rarely disappears outright. It is met and diminished by starving it of reinforcement, especially verbal reinforcement. When fear speaks up, respond with poise. The universe is already acting. I rest in certainty. Then return to ordinary tasks. Do not unearth the planted seed to check on it. As Florence cautioned, whoever stirs the soil every hour to see if the seed has sprouted destroys the root before it is born. Stage 2 is quiet synchronicity. Once fear loosens convergences, emerge subtle omens, an offhand remark, a surprise message, a thought that resolves an older request. Many people drift into distraction here, but you will choose another path, gratitude before comprehension. Whenever anything unusual occurs, whether clearly favorable or seemingly neutral, affirm inwardly, "Thank you, universe, for reminding me that my decree is alive." This anticipatory thanks fuels realization even when the meaning is not yet obvious. The final phase is gentle materialization. On some occasions, the response appears within minutes. On others, it surfaces as a nearly imperceptible inner turn. Yet it does come because the law does not fail. A word released does not come back void. Florence recounted a student who, after decreeing, dreamt of a stream of coins flowing toward her. 3 days later, a long overdue payment arrived for a project she had written off. The event was not sorcery, but a reorientation of her energetic stance. When mental interference subsides, the current clears and supply can follow its natural channel. To reinforce this shift, write, "My decree is already alive." This is not a gesture to appease technology. It is a ceremonial act that seals your statement in the universal field and catalyzes a second tier of manifestation. One more crucial practice across the 24 hours: refrain from voicing lack even casually. Each time you feel the urge to say, "I don't have change it to," it is on its way. That modest linguistic pivot reverses the charge of your vibration, because delays rarely belong to the decree. They arise from a mind still uncertain about sacred timing. divine timing. Florence reminded her students operates with flawless precision. As the day closes, resist the urge to hunt for proof in outer events. Instead, examine your interior state. If you detect peace, even in the absence of dramatic developments, the decree has already begun its work. Peace is the earliest form of manifestation. All further outcomes unfold in their appointed season. Florence often closed with this reminder: the true miracle is not that the money comes, but that fear dissolves. When fear leaves, abundance enters without asking permission. Write the sentence, "I rest in certainty." This was the line Florence used to seal her nightly practice. Adopt it to complete your own. One further key about the divine 24 hours: when you move through the day anchored in inner certainty, people around you mirror that stance. You will observe subtle shifts in how you are regarded, along with unanticipated invitations, because the current of spiritual authority does not coerce, it emits and attracts. As the day concludes, replace the question, "What did I get?" with the deeper inquiry, "Who did I become during my waiting?" If your honest answer is someone at peace, then the decree has already begun its fulfillment. All else will arrive in its sequence. Keep this principle close. Every utterance you offer, the universe is an act of creation. Give voice only to what you intend to see flourish. When fear attempts to speak, choose silence and rely on the knowing that today's decree is already inscribed within divine substance. The forthcoming chapter shows how to stabilize this frequency so you do not slip back into scarcity. There you will explore what Florence termed the permanent state of provision, a mode of being where you anchor the lessons learned and close the cycle with gratitude. This path is not about summoning money again and again, but about becoming a consciousness that no longer needs to plead. The one who petitions still harbors doubt. The one who remembers issues command, and the one who commands responds with gratitude. That is the essence of living in a permanent provision state. Florence pictured it as the universe's sacred respiration: inhale, faith exhale, thanks no struggle in between. In that condition, life self-organizes. What once seemed like chance becomes a faithful mirror of a mind reconciled with plenty. Over many years, Florence observed a telling pattern in her students. The fastest manifestations did not come from those who spoke the most decrees, but from those who most completely relaxed into their own word. Faith is not quantified by strain or volume of work. It is recognized by stillness and composure. The cosmos does not need your urgency. It asks for your consent. That consent is given through quiet confidence, the stance of someone who says, "I have already spoken now. I allow the law to operate." Picture a pristine mountain stream, shove it, and you cloud the water. Allow it to run, and it clears and finds its course unaided. In exactly this way does divine supply proceed. Your singular responsibility is to keep the conduit clear, your thought, your speech, and your feeling nature. Whenever you notice the notion, "Here I am in lack again," respond without agitation, "I am the perfect channel of divine wealth." Nothing is lost. Everything is transformed into good. Speak it plainly with the ease of recalling a sacred passphrase. Florence emphasized that genuine abundance is grounded not in hoarding, but in circulation. Grasping causes energetic blockage. Generosity restores movement and multiplies the good. Hence, every generous act, a warm smile, a thoughtful phrase, an offering, is a miniature decree embodied. Through it, you announce to the universe, I trust my source enough to give freely. The universe, true to its nature, replies, I amplify your supply so that you may continue to give. In this manner, the circulation remains uninterrupted. One reminder often overlooked: dwelling in provision does not cancel challenges. It sustains faith while you move through them. Florence named this the art of walking upon the waters, not by denying the waves, but by remembering you can remain above them. Whenever events appear to turn contrary, answer with composure, this too is working in my favor. Then observe how the current reorients itself. If these lessons have given you calm, affirm, my word sustains my world. By doing so, you ground the stabilizing frequency Florence intended you to carry forward. Now pause for a full breath, because this is the point where the narrative moves from illustration to your own practice. Across these chapters, you have recalled that the word operates like a seed, that silence possesses force, and that faith meets its trial in shadow, yet proves itself in serenity. You have given voice to decrees, recognized confirmations, and realized that abundance is not something chased, but something permitted. Florence often ended her talks with a brief line, nearly a sigh. When your word and your faith embrace, the universe bows and serves you. This is the aim of the spiritual practitioner, and you are already engaging it with consciousness. If you feel enriched by this path, press the Balo de Mai button. Your support helps the teaching spread and reach more people ready to recall their strength. The final chapter will show how to set this energy in place for good, so life becomes an ongoing landscape of synchronicity, openings, and quiet ease. That last section, the seal of the eternal word, will complete the current cycle and usher in a higher tier of abundance. We have arrived at a closing, though in truth, nothing truly ends for once. A soul remembers its creative capacity. Each conclusion turns into a fresh commencement. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that words do not perish. They move, traverse time and languages and eras, and continue doing their work wherever they are recalled. Your voice, yes, the one receiving this now, has merged with that enduring stream. You are no longer merely echoing phrases. You are engaged in direct dialogue with the universe itself. Across this passage, you have learned that speech plants seeds, that quiet, too, generates creation, and that fear ultimately dissolves when confronted by conviction. You have seen that a decree is not a gimmick, but a key, and that it turns only when the heart is tuned. The forbidden element was never the set of words. It was the unawareness of the strength residing within you. Now that awareness is yours, and once grasped, it does not vanish. It abides as your own inheritance. In her notes, Florence recorded, those who understand the law of the word stop asking for miracles because they become one. This is your present state, a moving miracle, a breathing affirmation, a decree made flesh. Regardless of place or circumstance, your word is still your sanctum, and whenever you speak it with conviction, the universe acknowledges its command. Before going on, inscribe, my word is eternal. Let the phrase stand in this digital field as a deliberate act of power, for when many voices assert the same truth, together the energy magnifies and radiates outward. Florence emphasized that the decree's seal is not triggered by volume or fanfare, but by gratitude, the signature frequency of an awakened being. So now, inwardly speak, thank you for the invisible good that is already on its way. Let it reverberate gently, free from urgency or demand, resting solely in trust. Each breath is a reminder that abundance is not merely approaching, it already exists here. In Florence's lineage, the act of sealing your word rested on 3 tenets: refuse to speak of lack again, not to dismiss circumstances, but to withhold authority from scarcity. Offer thanks even when there appears to be no immediate cause, because causeless gratitude carries the universe's highest tone. Conduct yourself as one who has already received. This is faith's core. Behave as though the promise has come to pass, and watch as conditions reconfigure on your behalf. Inscribe the line, "I live as if everything were already fulfilled." That declaration closes the present cycle, and the act of writing it turns your statement into a deliberate decree. Florence taught that the human soul speaks with 2 registers, a reactive voice and a creative voice. Most people dwell in the former. After this passage, you have awakened the latter. The creative voice does not debate external facts, it defines them. And daily, no matter what unfolds, you can return to that inner authority. Simply affirm, "I am the perfect channel of divine wealth," and the circulation resumes. In truth, there are no real reversals or forfeitures, only moments of forgetting, and you have now remembered. If this path stirred something profound in you, press the Balo de May button. Your support enables others to find this teaching and allows this abundance frequency to widen its reach. Thus, we arrive at the ending. Receive the closing lines as though they were Florence's echo, speaking softly to you from beyond time. The universe invariably answers with a yes. What shapes the yes you receive is the statement you set forth initially. You have learned how to address the universe, how to instruct your life, and most crucially, how to rely on the quiet. So when you finish this video, remain connected to this current. Carry it as you move. Let every utterance be a prayer, and every pause a hidden directive. Abundance begins not with cash in hand, but at the moment you calmly declare, "All is well, all is fulfilled." It is said that when speech is delivered with complete consciousness, the universe not only receives it, but reiterates it. That subtle return is what Florence Scovel Shinn termed the creative echo. It is more than an acoustic bounce. It is spirit's resonance answering itself through material forms. Each idea you project and each sentence you exhale imprints upon the world's subtle substance and eventually circles back to you, embodied as circumstance encounter and tangible reality. Florence came to grasp this secret most deeply in her later years, when her cadence softened into something like a whisper. She would counsel, "Speak less, but when you speak, let your word have a destination." She knew there are no harmless or empty syllables. Every utterance acts as an electromagnetic seed, a patterned vibration that attaches to reality's weave and immediately draws to itself resonant forms. If you affirm, "I am lost," the echo arranges circumstances that tangle and mislead. If you state, "I know exactly where I am," the returning echo delivers lucidity. Hence, Florence's teaching that speech functions as a compliant mirror. It will not oppose the feeling tone riding with your words. It reflects it faithfully. The creative echo does not simply replay your literal phrasing. It broadcasts the feeling you carried while speaking. It serves coherence. When sound and sentiment clasp hands, the signal strengthens. When they oppose one another, the field weakens or nullifies. In this way, every sentence becomes a sacred trial, a request that the cosmos display the image of your inner alignment. The echo does not judge or sort by ethics. It observes no categories of fair or unfair. It only cycles back. This is the law of return articulated through speech. Florence condensed the idea into a bright axiom. What you speak once with faith, the universe speaks 1,000 times for you. This understanding fueled her composure. She did not dread loss, confident that a word voiced in truth would inevitably return to her. Hence, she neither yelled nor pleaded. One tranquil declaration sufficed. Real potency lies not in volume or sharpness of tone, but in the clarity and cleanliness of the underlying vibration. Picture words as musical notes and emotions as the strings they resonate upon. When both are in tune, the whole cosmos functions as an instrument. Florence taught that the human body works like a sacred antenna built to broadcast and receive frequencies. Your cells attend to your thoughts. The atmosphere conveys them. The world translates and renders them into events. Thus does the unseen transmute into what can be observed. Even so, the echo often hides in plain sight. It may return masked as an offhand chat, a coincidental meeting, or even an obstacle you did not anticipate. Careful attention reveals that whatever arrives bears the frequency of something you once voiced, perhaps not aloud, but in the quiet corridors of your mind. Recall that silence communicates too. It is the breathing space where the universe organizes its reply. Florence would often meditate by a candle's flame, observing the delicate sway. That is how the universe responds, she remarked, with motions so understated that only a still gaze perceives them. Contemporary science declares that all is energy. Florence agreed and went further. Energy remembers. Words do not vanish. They linger in subtle fields until consciousness retunes to their frequency, at which point they condense into form. Thus, when a thought you hope to outgrow reappears as experience, it is not retribution. It is the echo circling back to be met and transformed. The echo's purpose is not harm. It is a reminder pointing out the pattern that still awaits your transmutation. Florence insisted that vibrations are not annihilated. They are altered. Therefore, do not suppress or argue with fear. Bless it. Blessing changes its timbre so the returning echo is cleansed. The energy that once terrified you can then serve as your companion and support. She named the process the alchemy of the word, transforming speech that harms into speech that mends, preserving its potency while elevating its function. To align with the creative echo, Florence advised a simple daily practice she called active silence. The goal is not muteness, but speech that rises from inward stillness. Before any affirmation, pause and inquire. From what state am I speaking? If you find fear at the helm, wait. If you sense peace, proceed. Mastery hides within that small decision. Each word you release launches a wave, and waves either assemble worlds or erode them. She would emphasize, do not try to correct the world with your complaints. Order it with your certainty. This line evolved into a cornerstone of her mature guidance. She recognized that complaining operates as a covert decree. Uttering this should not be happening to me signals the universe to replay the scenario, testing your conviction. Conversely, proclaiming this too works for my good instructs the echo to reconfigure events in your favor. Such is the law of speech. It pays no heed to labels like blessing or curse. It responds to whether the vibration is harmonious or divided. Each bond, circumstance, and occurrence that crosses your path is the sounding of your interior voice. It arrives not as penalty, but as a revelation of the tone you habitually inhabit. If disorder finds you, examine your language. How often do you articulate structure compared with scarcity? If isolation stings, ask how frequently you've affirmed no one understands me. The echo does not desert you. It highlights exactly and without malice what you are still generating unconsciously. With calm eyes and a soft humor, Florence would tell her students, "There is no more honest mirror than reality." Many heard that line as metaphor, but she meant it plainly. Outer scenes add up to your ongoing decrees. Nothing crosses into your experience without your vibrational consent. Therefore, your task is not to wrestle the exterior into shape. It is to refine the speech that upholds it. Numerous seekers misread the practice, assuming that parroting lines sufficed. Florence corrected them. Repetition is not to convince the universe, but to convince yourself of your own truth. Every attentive repetition fortifies the inner conduit that carries power. The mind, skeptical at the start, eventually yields to faith's proof. At that point, the spoken word incarnates as lived experience. She recommended practicing like a sacred chant, not out of desperation, but out of devoted alignment. The word she taught is prayer in motion. When prayer moves, the cosmos moves alongside it. How can you tell the echo is on its way back? Florence named 3 indicators: synchronicities, timely meetings, recurring numbers, and repeated statements that affirm your trajectory. Inner lightness and unexpected serene feeling, arising even when no obvious cause appears. Detachment from outcome anxiety recedes, replaced by a quiet sense that completion has already occurred. When these 3 converge, your decree has started to take form. The echo is inbound. There is no need to chase it. It will locate you. Those who search for the sign delay it, Florence wrote. Those who trust in silence receive it. Yet the creative echo brings back more than brightness. It also reflects the pieces you conceal. Whatever you reject within yourself revisits you as fate, as other people, as circumstances. Florence did not gloss over shadow. She welcomed it. She taught that the soul cannot truthfully affirm "I am light" until it has first acknowledged "I am everything." Acknowledging your darker aspects does not empower them, it releases them. The echo repeats only as long as denial holds. Therefore, when a lesson recurs, it is not evidence of a broken law, it signals an inner statement still awaiting revision. The universe, patient as a good instructor, offers the exercise again and again until the student voices the phrase that aligns. Florence held that human speech uniquely bridges the unseen and the seen. God created with the word she said, and man continues his work. Each authentic statement participates in perpetual creation. Speak, "I am peace," and that tone travels across dimensions, reorganizing particles and uplifting people you may never meet. Your utterances do not end at your lips. They diffuse into climate momentum and emergent potential. This explains why Florence's teachings remained active beyond her lifetime. What she declared long ago is sounding in your awareness now. Such is the reach of the creative echo. One person's voice can influence the currents of history far into the future. Florence envisioned a world in which awakened beings gather not around doctrines, but around shared frequency. She taught, when 2 or more declare from the same faith matter rearranges itself. This is the foundation of communities of light circles of people voicing the same affirmations from a common confidence. They require no edifices or elaborate rites. Coherence itself is their sanctuary. Each comment and collectively spoken decree weaves a network that supports the group's frequency. For this reason, she emphasized speaking aloud not to attract attention, but to formalize the covenant with the universe. If these words meet you now, you are already within that lattice. Resonance drew your mind here because your soul remembers Florence's tone. Nothing about this is random. Souls identify one another through the echoes they share. Another secret Florence shared in intimate settings was this: the echo of your word does not move in a simple straight trajectory, nor does it proceed only into the future. It may loop back from what you call the past, or arrive early from what you name the future. Spoken intention operates beyond clocks and calendars. The word abides outside linear time. When you affirm, "I forgive myself," the frequency released does more than soothe your current moment. It reconfigures the emotional imprint of your memories and unclutters the pathways of what is yet to come. Florence framed the principle in this simple formulation: the divine word does not act in hours, but in eternities. What you decree today is fulfilled in all your dimensions. This is precisely why the forbidden decree carried extraordinary force. Its resonance was so clear that it loosened the weave of chronological time. It dissolved obligations, interrupted cycles of karma, and lifted inherited patterns. It became an answering echo, capable of dissolving echoes from long ago. Grasping this truth means recalling that each utterance you release reshapes not merely the future in front of you, but also the narrative behind you. When you recognize that every statement finds its way back, your soul grows wise. You stop speaking for the sake of noise and start weighing each phrase the way an alchemist portions out elements. This is not censorship by fear. It is devotion and respect. As Florence put it, the word is sacred fire. It warms or consumes depending on who lights it. Hence her counsel toward vibrational discretion. If you cannot genuinely bless with your speech, choose silence. Conscious quiet is itself a benevolent frequency. The creative echo is not a judge delivering penalties. It merely mirrors back with precision. In that symmetry resides perfect equilibrium. Consequently, authentic abundance is not tallied by possessions, but by the caliber and coherence of your language. Whoever gains mastery over their word inevitably gains mastery over the environment it shapes. As increasing numbers speak with awareness, the shared vibration of the planet elevates. Florence foretold an era when unified declarations could restore whole communities, even entire cities. It may be that such an era is already unfolding. Each bright thought you send forth adds a note to that vast planetary chorus. You need no immediate outward proof to trust its operation. Simply notice the inner reverberation and unforced calm, a groundless peace that signals your word has reached its mark. Take a slow breath and allow a brief pause to expand within you. Attend to the reverberation of your recent statements as they resonate through your chest, subtle yet palpable. Every sentence you have voiced with love continues living in invisible fields, searching for paths to come back to you in magnified form. Do not push or force its arrival. Adopt listening as your posture and let receptivity do its work. The generative return has already begun its movement. The cycle is underway, even if your senses have not yet registered it. And as that motion continues, hold close this line from Florence penned near the end of her earthly journey. When the voice of the soul aligns with the human voice, the universe sings. That cosmic song is yours to carry now. It is part of your personal repertoire. Allow that music to hum through your being. Let it continue vibrating without interruption. For whatever shares resonance with your field cannot miss you. By natural law, it converges upon you unfailingly. Florence often taught that speech is not a decorative flourish for thinking. It is the very workshop where thought is refined. If the creative echo demonstrates how the world answers your voice, then the alchemy of the word instructs you to purify that voice to its most essential tone so that it ceases merely to react and instead directs. The aim is never to coerce matter. It is to disclose matter's innate compliance once awareness rises to its sovereign state. Alchemists of antiquity attempted to convert base metals into noble ones. Florence honored that emblem, yet added a decisive insight. The true gold is the mind aligned with its word. In her approach, every real transformation advances through three living phases: intention, vibration, and materialization. These three seemingly simple terms, when genuinely embodied, convert daily life into a disciplined art of sacred exactness. Intention functions as the quiet structural plan beneath every declaration. Prior to any syllable leaving your lips, a design is already present. This inner schematic defines what the exterior structure will become. Intention is never the restlessness of wanting. It is deliberate orientation. It is the statement made without language, the contour your presence assumes even before speech begins. Florence trained her students to see before saying. This was not an invitation to daydream, but a directive to offer the soul the initial brushstroke. She would reiterate, what your heart has already blessed the world cannot deny you. Thus, she recommended a brief yet decisive act. Place your hand over your heart center and through 3 slow, deliberate breaths, inwardly name the quality you intend to embody: clarity, provision, peace, order, joy. The practice does not request the quality. It acknowledges it as already belonging to you. Genuine intention turns its gaze inward rather than outward. It does not interrogate reality with "will you give this to me?" Instead, it inquires, who am I as I receive this? That single shift disarms anxious striving and uncovers innate authority. The universe coordinates itself with that authority, never with urgency. Practice for geometric intention. State your chosen quality in one concise word. Close your eyes and render that quality as an uncomplicated inner emblem. For instance, a circle symbolizing peace, a triangle for clarity, a spiral signifying abundance. Breathe the symbol, let it enter with every inhalation and extend or radiate outward with every exhalation. When a mild warmth gathers at the heart or a soft loosening occurs in the shoulders, conclude. That sensation indicates the intention has assumed recognizable form. Florence named this process invisible geometry. It is not vague mysticism. It is rigorous soul discipline. An intention prepared in this manner grows compelling and clear. It requires no force or pressure. Its very existence exerts quiet authority. Language can be elegant, yet fail to generate. Creation proceeds from tone. Vibration is the score accompanying the sentence, the felt emotional climate of the words. If intention provides the shape, vibration provides the warmth or coolness. Two statements phrased identically but voiced with different tones can yield entirely different outcomes. Saying "I am abundance in fear" is merely an effort. Saying it from peace is a tender but definitive command. How do you refine tone? Florence offered 3 primary keys. A coherence: ensure the body does not refute the mouth. Lengthen the spine, soften the jaw, and gently open the chest. The body serves as the musical staff. When posture carries gratitude, the voice naturally harmonizes. Coherence is the soul's most direct pathway. B rhythm, avoid hurrying the line. Let each word land like a deliberate droplet. Speed signals skepticism, whereas an unhurried cadence persuades the mind that fulfillment is already underway. C, sincerity, refuse to pronounce what your nervous system cannot yet sustain. If I am abundance feels oversized today, choose I remember that I am abundance, or I allow abundance to express itself in me. A humbler truth resonates more powerfully than an inflated claim. Teaching Petals core aphorisms. Vibration does not lie. That is why the law is exact. The universe does not hear what you say, but what you touch with your emotion. Exercise for calibrating vibration. Repeat your decree 3 separate times, shifting the place from which you anchor it. First, from the throat center, it will register primarily as conceptual or mental. Next, from the chest, you are likely to sense warmth or soft radiance. Finally, from the lower abdomen, you will notice stability and rootedness. Remain with the register that reliably yields both calm and vivid presence. That personal blend is your authentic tone, singular to you and not transferable. When inner design intention and felt tone vibration finally align, physical reality stops pushing back. Yet the outcome seldom arrives by the obvious route. It may appear as a small opening, a brief exchange, or even the sudden urge to straighten a shelf. Florence emphasized a point that puzzled many: the earliest sign of success is peace. If serenity settles over you after your decree, the wonder has already initiated at the causal plane where all effects are born. What follows is simply the visible sequence catching up. To make this concrete, Florence recounted the case of a merchant begging for big sales while his shop aisles were blocked by unrepaired items. She offered no charm or talisman. Her counsel was practical. Clear the aisle, fix what is pending, bless every object in silence. Within a single week, absent any promotion, passers-by wandered in on their way somewhere else and purchased enough to open the floor. As she later noted, matter understands when you look at it with respect, indicators that materialization is underway. Natural ordering and unforced urge to clean file finish lingering tasks. Simplifying effortless release of what no longer contributes value. Aligned meetings, crossing paths with people who model the quality you affirmed. Sharpened focused distractions drop away. Choices become crisp and straightforward. When such markers arise, beware of 2 common errors: craving dramatic fireworks and falling into compulsive repetition. Spectacle feeds the ego while nervous resaying digs up the seed you planted. Choose trust instead. As Florence reminded her students, a true word needs no escort. The soul's refining furnace transforming inner lead into living gold. Classical alchemy heated ores. The inner art heats beliefs. The lead is not literal lack, but the sentences that feed it. It's always hard for me. In my family, it's like this. For me, everything arrives late. Don't wrestle those lines. Hear them fully. Then run the 4-step transmutation protocol. Recognition, non-judgmental, I have been saying. For me, everything arrives late. Name it plainly without shaming yourself. Neutralization, remove charge. That sentence was a defense mechanism. It let me rationalize my fear. Lower the emotional voltage so it loses grip. Transmutation installed the law. Divine timing is exact. What is mine arrives at the perfect time. Replace the old pattern with a lawful affirmation. Anchoring embodied cue, write the new decree and position it where your gaze lands easily: desk, mirror, phone, wallpaper. The nervous system learns by repeated effortless seeing. Florence explained that each belief functions as a frequency pact, and no pact is permanent. You can renounce it with a new signature, your word. For this reason, she described a spoken decree as the spirit's notarized act. When voiced with conviction, the world rewrites its agreements accordingly. The 5-Minute Laboratory, a compact daily protocol. For anyone insisting I don't have time, Florence outlined a brief yet potent routine. Minute 1. Active silence. Place a hand over your heart and take 3 slow breaths, entering quiet presence. Minute 2. Intention. State your chosen quality and visualize its simple symbol clearly in the mind's eye. Minute 3. Decree one time only. I am the perfect channel of divine wealth. Everything that is mine by divine right recognizes me and comes under grace. Speak it once steadily. Minute 4. Causeless gratitude. Thank you for the invisible good that is already acting. Let uncomplicated thankfulness expand. Minute 5. Micro-coherent action. Take a small, concrete step that matches your decree file. That document. Place a call you owe. Give an item away. Repeat this compact lab every day, preferably at a consistent hour. Rhythm builds neural and energetic pathways. The hidden pitfall: using decrees against another person. A private emphasis in Florence's teaching was clear. Do not aim decrees at individuals. A cursing word loops back to its sender. If you seek safety or fair resolution phrase, your decree, in the language of lawfulness and good divine law, acts in this situation. Everything arranges itself under grace and in perfect ways for everyone involved. What belongs to me arrives. What does not dissolves without harm. In this manner, you safeguard your own space without accruing energetic liabilities. True alchemy refuses to wield speech as a blade. It wields it as illumination. Florence described a mature inner condition she termed joyful obedience, a phase in which the soul stops disputing with circumstances and instead gently directs them. One arrives at this state when spoken word is no longer treated as a chore, but as natural respiration. You do not decree in order to patch reality. You decree to recollect truth. From there, even difficulties appear as pliable substance ready to be shaped by accurate guidance. A reliable assay for progress is this. Gold test: should your decree create bodily tension, examine your intention again. If it pushes you into hurry, reassess the vibration and tone. But if it brings ease, steadiness, and a kinder disposition, you have already entered the current of joyful obedience. Earlier, the Night of Silence taught that silence itself is lawful power. Verbal alchemy unites the two-pole speech that sets the order, quiet that seals it, and conduct that confirms it in the visible world. Remove action and words drift. Remove silence and speech dissipates. Remove the word and actions degrade into empty routine. Florence advised ending each decree with a modest, concrete gesture that validates the intangible declaration. For instance, after decreeing provision, clear a minor debt today or earmark a portion to share. If you decree order, invest 10 focused minutes in a single countertop or shelf. If you decree clarity, record one specific decision on paper and complete it. As she summarized, action is the final signature that matter recognizes, a seal the material world instinctively respects. Abundance encompasses far more than finances. It includes connection, vocation, and well-being. Florence applied identical principles to relational life. When students asked how to draw the right person, she would smile and reply with gentle wit, "Be yourself, the person that person recognizes." After that, she offered a compassionate decree of release. I release everyone to their good and claim my perfect good. Every bond that does not belong dissolves under grace. The right bond appears without effort. The transformative move in relationships is relinquishment. A true decree does not constrict, it tunes the field. Clutching broadcasts scarcity while releasing announces completeness. Within that spacious, fertile openness, what is truly yours by divine right can emerge naturally. The chief adversary of inner alchemy is the urge to control outcomes. Insisting on the how and when converts a decree into an instrument of worry. Florence urged trading control for spiritual skill, fulfilling the human portion while entrusting the rest to the governing law. As she framed it vividly, plant water, pull the weeds, leave the rain to the sky. Concretely, this means taking the obvious steps within reach, answer the messages, submit the proposals, acquire the necessary competence. Your decree unlocks the doorway. Your action is what actually carries you through. To round out the cycle, Florence closed each day with 3 brief sentences uttered a single time with quiet composure. Recognition, divine law, already acts in me and through me. Surrender under grace in perfect time and ways. Gratitude. Thank you for the invisible good becoming visible. After that, simply silence, no more words. As she liked to add with a light smile, the night belongs to God. For students who wanted to anchor this work, Florence offered a concise 7-day framework. Day 1, purification. Notice the habitual sentences you repeat. Capture each on paper without resistance or argument. At day's end, select a single phrase to transform. Day 2, intention. Create your simple symbol, breathe with it for 5 minutes, and explicitly name the quality you are embodying. Day 3, tone voice your decree from 3 centers, throat, heart, and lower belly, and adopt the register that yields calm plus presence. Day 4, action. Take 3 small concrete steps that align cleanly with the content of your decree. Day 5, silence, refrain from decrees. Practice causeless gratitude and allow the law to operate unimpeded. Day 6, giving offer. Tangible generosity, time, care, or resources, because whoever gives declares sufficiency. Day 7, seal. Speak the 3 closing phrases again and rest. Notice confirmations, but do not pursue or force them. Repeating this weekly cycle gradually converts speaking into a consecrated discipline. And such a consecrated discipline steadily authors destiny. Many people hunted for the single, most powerful line. Florence would smile and reply, "The philosopher's stone is not a sentence. It is a state. That state is the memory of who you truly are." Thus, when you affirm, "I am the perfect channel of divine wealth," you are not pleading for a stream, you are acknowledging yourself as the very riverbed. A riverbed does not chase its waters, it receives them. It does not hoard and stagnate, it guides the flow. It does not contaminate, it filters and clarifies. This is the moral foundation of abundance. Consequently, if you are asking whether the forbidden decree will work in your case, the alchemical reply is tender, but exact. It functions in proportion to your remembrance of the self that speaks it. The arrangement is not primarily about the wording, it is about the speaker. The statement provides the bridge. The traveler who must cross is you. Before we conclude, undertake this concise practice immediately. Set both feet firmly on the floor, establishing contact with the ground. Rest one hand over the center of your chest to gather attention inward. Take 3 gentle, unforced breaths in and out, letting the body settle. In a quiet tone, speak the following lines: I am the perfect channel of divine wealth. Everything that is mine by divine right recognizes me and finds me. Under grace, in perfect time and form. Maintain 1 full minute of easy silence, allowing the decree to steep. Choose one specific action that aligns with your decree, write it plainly, and complete it before the day ends. Do not push yourself to manufacture emotion. If a sense of peace arrives, let that be sufficient. If peace does not come yet, that too is sufficient because the seed has already been planted beneath the surface. A seasoned farmer does not uproot the seed to inspect it. He simply keeps watering, keeps tending, and trusts the process to unfold. The word's alchemy never guaranteed spectacles or dramatic displays. It offered something far more enduring: the practice of creating from a quiet, benevolent authority that requires no fanfare to be effective. You have trained yourself to craft intention with care, to tune your tone with precision, and to recognize manifestation when it appears in plain, unadorned form. You have realized that transmutation is not about refusal or pretending. It is about blessing steadily until the heavy lead of past statements yields its weight and becomes the bright gold of your authentic truth. As this inner alchemy matures, the soul no longer nags, when will it finally arrive, but instead asks, what does alignment require of me right now? In that shift, life itself becomes a willing laboratory, a cooperative field for daily experiment and practice. Pause for a full breath. Allow your ribs to expand and soften as you exhale. Sense the hush that follows, a transparent clarity settling around and within you in the wake of these sentences. Understand that this very stillness is like switching on the lamps in your inner studio. It is your workshop, illuminated and ready for true work. Allow that quiet to do its intelligent labor. Refrain from meddling and let the process carry itself forward. Florence often affirmed that genuine teaching never stops. It merely shifts its appearance. The true teacher does not vanish in death, but diffuses into the awareness of those who truly receive. Thus, when her audible voice ceased in the material world, some assumed the echo would fade. But an unexpected pattern emerged. People across distant places reported sensing her presence, hearing her in dreams, catching soft phrases in meditation, noticing improbably timed coincidences. It was as though the tone of her language had located fresh human instruments through which to continue its resonance. Her students nicknamed this unfolding the return of the master, though Florence chose another description: the continuity of the word. The guide does not come back as a physical form, but as accessible awareness. She returns whenever a person recalls their own creative voice and sets it in motion for benevolent purposes. If you have come this far, you are no longer a spectator to another person's narrative. You are woven into it. The sentences you voiced earlier were not merely devotional tasks. They activated a tonal field that now links you directly to the living stream of this teaching. This is the authentic meaning of return, not the teacher traveling back to you, but your own movement back to the very source that once animated and guided her. Every true teacher seeks not worship, but remembrance. Florence did not request allegiance to her personality. She asked for alignment and consistency. She put it simply: do not look for my voice. Listen to yours when you no longer doubt. The moment you place full trust in your own declaration, the Master's awareness finds clear passage through you. You become its rightful extension, its living embodiment in this era. The timeless word continually seeks fresh voices through which to sound and new hearts capable of carrying its flame without distortion. Florence's true lineage is tallied not by headcount, but by the clarity of tones that stay unclouded. Any soul that opts to speak from unwavering certainty strengthens that current. There are no ladders of rank, no exclusivist rights, no hidden passwords, only steadfast loyalty to a single principle the word creates. The master's return is realized precisely when that principle ceases to be theory and takes on embodiment in your ordinary speech and actions. It is present when you stop repeating lines merely because you read them and instead speak from the overflow of your settled state. It is present when I am no longer sits as an idea, but moves in and out with your breath as an effortless rhythm. At that point, your voice acquires qualities akin to Florence's tone, a clarity that requires no strain, an authority that guides without force or pressure. She named this register the voice of a reconciled soul, one that has made peace within and therefore speaks peace without. This voice does not raise its volume, does not debate to win, does not tremble with anxiety. It states what is true, and in response, the world of events quietly arranges itself. A longtime pupil recorded that years after Florence's passing opening, the game of life would release the faint perfume of jasmine, the fragrance that once permeated Florence's New York studio. Reading passages aloud, she noted filled the space with a palpable hush. It was not mere autosuggestion, she insisted, but the felt presence of a particular vibration. Florence maintained that phrases infused with kind intention do not diminish as years pass. They gather potency. Consequently, the more such words are spoken or read, the more effectively they operate. The teacher is not confined to ink or page. She resides in the frequency that the page faithfully carries. The very same law applies to your speech. Each truthful sentence you utter leaves an energetic trace, a subtle imprint others can sense, even if they cannot identify its origin. It could be that a decade from now, someone will echo one of your expressions, and your original vibration will stir alive inside their chest. In this ongoing reverberation, the word continues, and in that continuity resides a form of real immortality. Florence envisioned a future where the sacred space would be made not of marble or brick, but of awareness itself, where each household, each exchange, each sentence could serve as an altar for the creative word. There will be a generation, she prophesied, that will know that to speak is to pray, and to pray is to create. That foreseen generation is alive now. The temple already stands. It is your mind sanctified when it thinks with kindness, your voice made sacred when it addresses others with respect, your body consecrated when deeds reflect inner consistency. There is no longer a need to hunt for special shrines. Any ordinary action can become ritual, preparing food with care, writing with deliberate focus, greeting someone with genuine warmth. The word's alchemy is not restricted to solemn decrees. It plays out in daily dialogue. Even the tone that accompanies a simple thank you can open subtle doorways as effectively as a ceremonial prayer. In this way, the master's service spreads dissolved into everyday gestures, quiet glances of peace, and mindful pauses that speak without words. Florence taught that abundance is not an exclusive entitlement. It is a resonance you agree to uphold. Each time you declare, "I am the perfect channel of divine wealth," you effectively enter into a living covenant. And as with all covenants, the agreement gains validity by being renewed through concrete lived experience, day after day, act after act. The Master's return calls you to reaffirm the pact at a higher octave, moving beyond merely receiving benefits to actively becoming a conduit of service, where giving is the natural continuation of receiving. Abundance that is hoarded soon grows heavy and oppressive, and a word kept to oneself eventually loses its glow. Only by circulating both do they retain their vitality and lightness. Therefore, when resources, openings, or acknowledgments arrive, allow their current to keep moving. Do this not out of guilt or duty, but in harmony with the universal law of circulation. What continues to flow stays fresh and abundant, while what is dammed up decays and diminishes. Florence observed that a truly generous spirit does not need to ask for increase. It becomes the source of increase. She also noted succinctly, the universe does not reward what you keep, but what you allow to pass through you. Being an ideal conduit does not require storing up the stream. It means permitting the waters to move through you, unobstructed and pure. The Master's reappearance within you confers not just capacity, but accountability, reminding you that power and responsibility are inseparable facets of the same realization. Everything you've learned will be quietly examined in ordinary moments. Life will verify whether your language stays congruent when there is no audience, and whether your tone of inner assurance holds steady when challenges present themselves. These examinations are not punishments. They are opportunities designed to stabilize and integrate your growth so it becomes unshakable. Florence referred to this process as the test of light, an evaluation by illumination rather than by blame. It does not arrive robed in ritual. It shows up as humble daily occasions, a provoking remark, an unexpected expense, or a wave of impatience urging you to speak from scarcity rather than from trust. Exactly in those points of pressure, the teacher looks at you from within your own awareness and softly reminds you, remember who you are. If right then you answer with a phrase grounded in faith, even if your voice quivers, the lesson is met. Success is not defined by never stumbling, but by choosing to stand back up, aligned with the true vibration. With time, Florence's students noticed they belonged to a quiet web, a diffuse community of strangers unified by a matching frequency rather than by formal membership. She named this field the invisible community, a fellowship discerned by resonance more than by sight. It possessed neither ranks nor sanctuaries, only a shared, clear intention to keep the creative word vibrant. Anyone who voiced the forbidden decree with sincerity and love entered that network by the simple fact of their alignment. If you pause, close your eyes, and breathe with awareness, you can sense it countless hearts in rhythmic accord, sustaining a common certainty. Their identities are not necessary to know. Recognizing their presence is sufficient. Each time you state everything that is mine by divine right returns to me multiplied under grace. You add your note to that quiet chorus, a contribution that subtly elevates the world's shared vibration. In such moments, Florence's consciousness sounds through many voices at once. This collective resonance is the genuine meaning of her return. After each creative completion, there must be a pause, a brief settling. Florence named this sacred interval the rest of the word, the stillness that completes the sentence. Just as music is completed by the quiet that follows a held tone, every manifestation is crowned by a tranquil hush. This is not vacancy. It is fullness at rest, the resonance satisfied. Within that silence, the soul practices a gratitude, free of grasping gratitude that looks upon what is and gently says, enough. Therefore, if a deep calm begins to prevail and the compulsion to declare fades, do not interpret it as loss. It indicates that you're standing in the field of enduring provision, where asking relaxes into confident being. In that condition, the creative word abides within you, while you simultaneously recline within it, mutual repose and mutual support. Speech now arises not to force outcomes, but as the natural language of one who recognizes themselves as a living creation, an ongoing expression of the law. Florence summarized the insight in a single crystalline line. When the player merges with the game becomes eternal. You are the aware participant she described, and with that realization in place, no circumstance can truly sever your link to origin. The master's return is not a spectacle outside you. It is the inner recognition that you contain both roles, the guiding wisdom and the learning heart within oneself. You have traversed the way of articulate decree, the discipline of quiet, the craft of transmutation, and the practice of living the truth in your body. You have witnessed reality's compliance with lawful word watched, fear loosen and fall away, and felt the settling of peace like gentle dust upon the soul. Additional omens are unnecessary now. What remains is faithful, affectionate practice showing up with consistency. From now on, you can inaugurate every day with one simple sentence: everything is fulfilled. Speak it not as acquiescence, but as assured knowing. If word is creative, then what you have declared stands real upon the lawful plane. Your work is to hold alignment patiently until the visible mirrors the truth that already is. Florence often closed with a gentle smile, and this affectionate admonition: do not look for more signs, become one. This is the highest initiation of speech, to live as the visible confirmation others unconsciously seek. To complete this passage, undertake a simple seal or ritual Florence reserved for her most ready students. It is not pomp or pageantry. It is pure alignment, a settling into correct order. Choose a quiet spot. If possible, light a white candle and set it before you as a symbol of lucid intent. If a candle is unavailable, your breath alone suffices. It is the original flame. Take 3 unhurried breaths and regard your own body as a consecrated space, a temple of attentive presence. Recall the 3 master keys that structure the forbidden decree: I am the perfect channel of divine wealth. Nothing and no one can prevent the good that belongs to me from coming to me. Everything that is mine by divine right returns to me multiplied under grace in perfect time and form. Now speak softly the following sealing words: I seal this word in divine substance. The visible and the invisible cooperate in my favor. What was lack becomes abundance. What was fear becomes power. What was doubt becomes certainty. And everything I have spoken from love is engraved in eternity. Rest in silence. Sense peace settling over you like a soft mantle around the shoulders. With each outward breath, picture this luminous calm radiating from your chest to touch the wider world. Florence suggested that if a multitude enacted this seal in unison, the planet's tone would shift in perceptible ways. Perhaps that synchrony is unfolding now. Perhaps today is such a day. You are no longer constrained to exact quotations of Florence's phrases. You now hold the sustaining principle itself, the law of immediate correspondence, the sure knowledge that reality mirrors your inner condition and answers the coherence you maintain. You are free to craft affirmations, compose decrees, and design rituals that arise authentically from your own understanding. What truly counts is not the outward shape, but the vibrational quality speak, grounded in love. Seal every word with simple gratitude and move forward with faithful action. This is the essence of the Master's return, turning back to your inner voice and realizing that your sentences, when coherent, carry the same authority as hers, because the very consciousness that once energized Florence now breathes through your own speech. Take one more slow, conscious breath. Feel how the resonance of these teachings continues to vibrate within your chest like a steady tone. Regard this moment not as a final period, but as the opening paragraph of a chapter written by your life. From here forward, whenever you voice faith, prefer quiet to grumbling, or bless even the opaque situations, the teacher's presence will reawaken within you. She will not travel from history. She will arise from your own interior, reminding you that life's play was never random luck. It has always been a practiced art. And when others wonder how you stay composed, you will reply as Florence once did, balancing gentleness with assuredness. It's not magic, it's the law. In that instant, you will recognize that the word cycle has reached its fulfillment through you. And you will also see that almost quietly, without fanfare, you have become the word's living continuation, sustaining it with your tone, your choices, and your days.